And hello, everybody. We're back with another episode of Today and Tomorrow in Scottsdale with Don and Kevin.
Hey, Don.
You're Kevin, right?
I am.
Are you golfing tomorrow?
I am. Are you golfing tomorrow?
I am golfing tomorrow.
We're all Debbie golf today.
And that's why we're talking about golf.
She's playing tomorrow, too.
I bet Debbie is.
You know, golf is not a verb. So you are playing golf tomorrow, and I played golf today.
I didn't say golfing today.
He said you were golfing tomorrow.
Oh, I did. You're right.
So
now the reason we're doing all of this golf talk is because we have somebody that's right in the golf thick of things, if you will. And our guest today is Debbie Waitkus. She's president and founder of Golf for Cause, and co-founder of the Marilyn Smith and Founders Legacy Foundation. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you.
You could say four. Yeah. Look out. We got some questions coming out of left field.
So excited. We've been trying to get Debbie on for a long time. Our schedules haven't quite matched up. So we've finally...
Good things come to those who wait. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the case today. Debbie is a former mortgage banker president. She found that the ideal outlet for her business acumen was on the golf course. So she founded Golf for Cause in 2000 to empower businesswomen through golf. She also worked for 10 years with LPGA co-founder and World Golf Hall of Fame member, Marilyn Smith. Mm-hmm. Marilyn was denied financial aid as a girl when she was trying to compete in college golf tournaments. And that was the catalyst for her creating the Marilyn Smith Scholarship Fund. Debbie serves as tournament director for the Marilyn Smith Scholarship Pro-Am, take all those words together, which benefits the fund. Really cool stuff, Debbie. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Before we jump into the golf world, tell us a little bit about your background and where you grew up and who you are and how you came to where you are today.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. So I am actually a Buffalo girl. Go Bills.
Yeah.
God bless. Do good.
Yeah.
And I came out here to Arizona to go to college down in Tucson. I am a Wildcat. Sorry.
Right. No.
And
that's okay. I'm a Penn State guy. So
there you go. Well, fair time. I do more things for ASU though. And I never, being from Buffalo, we didn't follow collegiate sports. It was all about the pro teams, right? So there was this whole rivalry that went completely over my head. I had no idea. I didn't get it. I was like, it's an Arizona team. We should support them, right? It's like, okay. Lived and learned. But moved from Tucson to Phoenix for love, and that kind of worked. Good. So still here and now growing natives. Yeah. And I would say I've always been in business, and the widgets have changed, same principles. Yeah. But now it's really more about raising money for scholarships and forwarding legacy of the LPGA founders.
That's fantastic. So when you got out of U of A, you came out with a business degree?
Business degree in operations management. Went to Thunderbird, master's in international management.
Wow, okay.
And I was just one of those girls. I was an athlete, so a little bit different in that point in time. Title IX was important to us. First sport out of the gate. I was of that generation where you just played everything, right? So first sport at U of A was tennis. So I tried out for the tennis team, made the tennis team, rolled my ankle playing basketball.
Oh my.
And then kind of was kept on the team and just hitting with everybody, right? And the ladder was set. And a girl in the dorm said, we've got this little soccer team we play, and we've got a really cute coach. You should kind of come out.
Motivation.
And, they needed a goalie, and I was good with my hands. I really didn't know anything about any of that. But at the U of A, which is probably similar to maybe ASU as well, the international teams that are there, all these players, they actually helped train me on how to be a good keeper. And I got tapped for the university team.
Wow.
I played all 4 years. Oh, it was awesome. I got to travel the whole Western United States, girl from Buffalo, hadn't been out West. And so it was a lot of fun. And that kind of led me down my path. I have Adidas sponsorship stripes on my knee from
the 3 scars
from soccer. Oh, I've got
you've had some surgeries.
Yeah, I've had 11. But,
have you really?
Yeah.
On your knees?
Just on the one.
On the one knee?
On the one. It's very special.
I bet.
It's very special.
Yeah. The scars of an athlete.
Yeah. But that's what got me to golf.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't running anymore.
So you couldn't run. But you have, obviously, you've got athletic skills on a variety of levels.
Yeah. I'm a girl that likes to play sports.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So you started playing golf just recreationally or?
Yeah, I was actually dragged out by a coworker who told me that her uncle had just taught her, cut down a set of clubs for her. She's really short. And I would just love this. And I was like, okay. So the caveat is I got my knee, right? It was hot here, summer, Arizona.
Right.
I'm pregnant.
Okay.
But you know me, I'm adventurous enough that I just figure, okay, I'll try this. True story, called my mother. I'm one of 5. And I said, did anybody play golf? Is there a set of clubs in the garage? Because that was not on my radar screen at all. And so she called me back and she said, yes, there's actually a set of golf clubs. They are dirty. You're going to have to dust them off. And there is no driver. I said, that's okay, because Laura said we take a cart. So
you learn quickly.
That was a good one.
Well, it's a true story. And I now work in the golf industry. So that's even funnier.
What comes around and go, whatever.
Yeah, so that was my first experience at the 9-hole course at Encanto.
Awesome. Encanto, sure.
And I absolutely fell in love.
Yeah.
And I think, for me, Don, it was like the closest I could come to strategy and teamwork in an athletic environment outside of an office environment type of thing, that I felt reconnected and recharged and just kind of ran with it.
That's fantastic. Yeah. There are so many parallels in business and leadership, business to sports.
Oh yeah.
The ton of them. So how long were you in the mortgage business then?
Oh, that's a really good question. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out, but with pregnancies with kids, probably I want to say 6 to 7 years.
Okay,
I
so
think.
not terribly long. So somewhere along that journey, though, you said, "I'm going to do something different with golf." And
where I was working, I was promoted right through the ranks to president of the company, and I firmly believe that golf helped make that happen, just with the relationship development.
Sure.
And interactions. And the direction of the company, the gentleman who owned it, the CEO, he wanted to take it in a certain direction. And it really started to feel to me like it was making money for the sake of making money. Mm-hmm. And we got lost in the part of improving the community and making things. The deals got really, really big. Yep. And now we're doing securities training and stuff. And I was like, I think I'm ready for something different. And I hired someone to transition me out. Mm-hmm. And my husband had a company, so he's the entrepreneur of the family. And I'm the, hey, we're going to have a salary, we're going to have benefits. So this gal, her, Silver Rose.
Oh, yeah.
So Silver said I had hired her, and she said, so what if you did your own thing? I said, oh, no, you're not hearing me. That's not, that's not. She goes, no, you're not hearing me. I said, no, you're not hearing me. So we went back and forth a little bit, and she helped me put a business plan together, and leveraging the experience that I had, what I was good at, what I was good at that I liked versus what I was good at that I didn't like, and the possibility that I could empower other women through golf. And so I brought it to Jack, to my husband, and I said, here's the deal. And what I'm thinking about doing. And he's like, oh my God, you have to do this. It's golf. Yeah. And it's like, if it doesn't work, you can always go get a job. Yeah. And because I really thought with her, I was just going to write a resume and just start to market myself. Yeah. And, it ended up that it worked. So she was the birth mother, the midwife of Golf for Cause. So I have Silver to thank for that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was so random.
Yeah. But so that's meant to be.
That is so cool. So it was in the development of the business plan that you saw the intersection with women and how they could improve things through the sport of golf. Is that how that came together?
I knew for me what happened, and I was not a good golfer. I was a great tennis player, so I was always good off the tee. And I could putt because and in the short game, because I kind of figured that's like my net game, right? Mm-hmm. But in between, But I invited guys to play golf. I did a lot of relationship development on the golf course. I had no problem picking my ball up and dropping it down, exploring what the betting games were. But it's how you handle yourself in the environment. And I thought, and I'm like the only woman showing up for these golf tournaments and industry events. And so I was remembered because it's my name being called. Oh, yeah. I had no competition. Right. And they never expected anything out of me, which is kind of sad, but that was it. But I leveraged it, right? So I thought if I could encourage and enlighten other women that it's not about how well you play, but how you handle yourself and get the wool out of their eyes and say, you can step into this environment and be seen as strategic and be seen in a business environment, you're included in the conversation rather than not. Mm-hmm. and you are welcome at the party. And yeah, you might hit a crappy shot, but you also might hit one good one, and that's all you really need. Yep. And then if you deny that you play, you're hurting yourself. You could just say you're a new golfer, and it's like all of a sudden you got a new mentor. Right. It's like, oh my God, she plays. Right. So Silver was like, look, you tasted all this success, and why don't you try to bottle this up a little bit and see how you could encourage others to participate and empower them and demystify this game.
Kim, what a story, huh?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Well, life leads us, right?
You go where you're meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can ask the question in a minute, but if you think that was cool, wait to hear about how these women golfers don't have the opportunities that men golfers have in the collegiate level, right?
Oh yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, talk about that. What's that all about?
How some of these women don't have the opportunities that men do.
Well, they don't. Look at when I played soccer, we're the team for the university. We had to buy our own goalposts.
You're kidding me.
Our own uniforms.
A university team.
Yeah. So now things have fast forwarded. It's been a minute, right? But I think things are a lot more established for the men's teams than the women's teams. Yeah. There are if you're not a D1 player, the opportunities just are a little bit more rare.
Yeah.
And as you had said in the intro, Marilyn was denied funding for the intercollegiate tournament. So she started her scholarship fund in 1999 because she wanted girls to have the opportunity to get an education and to be able to continue on their sports. And not that necessarily that they would become tour players, but you know what? Leverage golf and get to that school that you want to get to. Yeah. Right. And you go and you have a community, you have a sisterhood, you have a mentor and a coach. You're going to have that. You've got a platform to blossom from rather than going and being nervous about everything. Yeah. You already belong. And that was kind of her belief. And, we've met. I've had the privilege of meeting so many of these young women. In fact, there were 2 today that flew in and participated in the Pro-Am with us that have been, we call them pearls. Marilyn always wore pearls.
Okay.
So when we brought all of the girls together during COVID that we had contact information for who'd received scholarships, they named themselves Marilyn's Pearls.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that adorable?
Isn't that cool?
That is really cool.
That's a great story, isn't it?
Yeah,
we kind of keep stringing in the new ones, but we've also now provided them a mentorship community, business coaching. Sandra Gall, who's an LPGA tour player, she does head coaching for them for the first year girls who receive their scholarships. So they're getting way more than the money. They're getting a community that believes in them and wants to help them,
that's
right?
So cool.
Which we'd all love to have that,
for sure.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So take us inside Golf for Cause. Tell us how that works, what it's all about, and how the whole thing came around, and where you're at with it today.
So you kind of know how it started with Silver, and I had this perfect vision of what an event should look like, and I actually had a really hard time getting golf courses to play ball. And if I wanted to do something with 3 holes or 9 holes, you've got to remember I didn't grow up with golf, so I'm just seeing from a business perspective. You've got unutilized space, and at the end of the day, let's come in, let's do a little something. We can have some food and beverage. We'll buy gift cards and send people back for prizes into the golf shop, and they're like, yeah, well, we don't do 9 holes.
Very rigid.
I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, right.
Can you consider the possibility?
No.
And so eventually that happened. I mean, look at 9 holes is common today. It was a bad word back in 2000.
Yeah, you're right.
So Silver encouraged me to start writing about what my beliefs were and how the helping tips, so to speak. And I was fortunate to get published. And she said, you need to be seen 8 times for people to see that you're real and that you've got some staying power.
Like on a speaking circuit kind of deal?
Well, at that point I think it applies to a lot of things, but at that point it was writing.
Okay.
And then when I couldn't get the golf courses to still play ball, she said, just start talking, put the stake in the ground and start somewhere. You got to take a swing. You got to get off the tee and then see where the ball goes, right? So that was really good advice that she gave me, and I think it's applicable to all of us today. And started speaking, and I had someone come to one of the workshops, which I thought was, we were only going to have women. And it was a guy.
Right.
And he happened to be a golf instructor. His name is Mike Friend. He's now at True North.
My
you know
friend?
Mike? He was
I've known him for years.
Yes, he was at Kierland at the time.
That's right.
And he came in, he wasn't married yet.
Yeah.
And he's talking to the girls. Oh my God, I love those earrings. My girlfriend, she
Yeah.
would just love those. And does anybody like sushi? And what I realized is that these women need to understand that if you're going to take a lesson, you're connecting with a human, not necessarily a guy or a woman. And there are plenty of women instructors who are fabulous, and there are plenty who are not approachable, right? Because we're humans. And he really showed that you can endear yourself to anybody just in your humanness, right? So I told him what my idea was, and he's like, let's try it. So, it's just one person has to get it, right? And it kind of blossomed from there.
Yeah.
There is a gentleman by the name of Chris McNichol who works for Gus Rosenfeld. And I had done a lot of business with him in my real estate days. And he wanted to do something at the holiday time for his paralegals and the attorney, the female attorneys. And he said, I usually just buy him spa certificates. He said, do you think you could put something together and we could do like something as a gift to them around golf and help them feel comfortable? And so I was like, ooh, calling Mike. And so we did our first test one with Chris's group, and Chris is still a dear friend today. We play golf together. His now wife was part of that little clinic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his daughter Shay, who is, I think, now married, little girl. Yeah. But that was, you test and you see how it works. And then it developed into a business golf series. And I think in those we did workshops. So we did classroom time, skills clinic, and on-course play to put in. I think we as women especially are experiential learners. So I wanted for them to be able to put into practice what they learned, including things like betting games. They'd be throwing their quarters around, and you have to be comfortable in that environment and know that it is what exists, and you can participate and you can drive the ball too. You can be the one that picks the games, and so pick a game that you're comfortable with. So we did all that kind of stuff, and actually Wells Fargo started to send all of their BDOs through our workshop series. And it's like I didn't have to market anymore because they were just coming through.
No kidding.
And then like 2008, 2009, golf became a bad word. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
So I just sort of put that up on the shelf and said, that'll come back when it's ready. And I kind of got a little bit impatient of people saying, hey, are you busy? Are you doing anything? Are you busy? And thought, you know what? I'm just going to put on a golf tournament. And I talked to Denise Resnick,
of course,
and adopted SARC as the charity.
Nice, yeah.
And we went up to True North and had a good old time. And we did the New Year ball drop, and we even got up on a ladder and dropped the golf balls out of champagne, champagne glasses you get at Michael's. And that's how we started everything. And someone's ball went in the hole and they won a bunch of money. And that was the start. And I realized that I had gained a skill set on event planning and helping people to be comfortable in the environment, that, gosh, we could do a tournament that people can now walk away and think about SARC, and that will be their conversation. And they'll want a next step, hopefully, with them to be involved. And that kind of really started me doing golf tournaments. And I would pretty much work with groups, not just for the sake of having an event, but if we could make an impact and make a difference and move them forward. And it might just not be for this year. I really was hoping we would do at least like a 5-year stint. So Where do you want to be in 5 years? What's the messaging along the way? And the strategic planning part of it, because, I'm a business person. I just don't want to do an event. So that was, that kept me busy, way too busy for quite a while. And then Marilyn came along and I decided, you know what, I think I'm ready to just help her with what she's doing. And okay, so I'll digress a little bit here for you.
Please.
The Executive Women's Golf Association, which is now the LPGA Amateur Network or Association, I'm not sure, it's an A or an N. There's a gal by the name of Peggy Gustafson, who is an LPGA teaching professional here in town. And then in the summer, she's great. She goes up to Alaska because she's smart. And she was hawking the Marilyn Smith golf tournament. And I'm like, Marilyn with 2 N's. Why would she be doing a tournament here? She lives in Dallas.
Yeah.
And she had just moved here. And she did this tournament basically as the main fundraiser to fund her scholarship fund. And Peggy's like, well, how the heck do you know who she is? Yeah. And through my travels and whatnot and work, I got involved with I would call it a think tank called Golf 2020, which used to be at St. Augustine every year. And it coincided with the Hall of Fame induction for the World Golf Hall of Fame. And so we'd honor the past, look at programming and things that are happening now, and then kind of do roundtables and brainstorm on future. And so I happened to be in the audience when Marilyn was inducted in 2006, and I have no idea who she is.
Really?
I'm new to the industry. What do I know? I'm like a sponge, and it became the source of a lot of those articles I was writing. Yeah. And so Kathy Whitworth introduces Marilyn, and Marilyn's telling her story about how she loved baseball. And unfortunately, she couldn't play because she was a girl. And so she decided to start her own team. So she starts her own team. She's the pitcher. She's the captain. She's the manager. And this is the 1940s. Wow. Okay. Wow. So I'm envisioning like June Cleaver as her mother, right? in pearls and high heels and baking. And she said she got home from practice one day and her mom says, "So dear, how was practice?" And she threw her mitt against the wall and let out a 4-letter word. Okay, 1940s. And so she gets marched down the hall to the bathroom. Her mouth gets washed out with Lifebuoy soap. And the next words are, "Wait till your father gets home," right? So over dinner, they talked about teaching her a ladylike sport. And so she went to Wichita Country Club and she learned how to play golf. And she was like, yeah, it's a sissy sport. That's not even a sport. I'm like, oh my God, there's a woman talking my language. Right. And so I wrote this story about her, which fortunately got published. And so I said to Peggy, that's how I know who Marilyn is. She goes, get me the story. I'm going to take it over to her. 2 days later, Marilyn called me.
Oh, wow.
And she knew I'd signed up in my team. She wanted to know if I could get her some media coverage. She wanted to know where my home course was and if they would donate a foursome for the auction. And I said, I'm sure they'd be happy to. And then there's silence. And she says, are you going to ask or do I have to do it? I was like, no wonder the LPGA got off the ground and stayed off the ground. And after her event, I took her to breakfast and I said, I have some ideas. I think that I know some ways that it could be even better. She said, come to our meeting next week. We're going to have a committee, whatever meeting. And she introduces me as the co-chair.
Oh, wow.
Moving
You've
forward.
been promoted.
Yeah, I got promoted. And so she was my daily call at least once a day and became such a dear, dear friend. And I miss her every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
What's the significance? Every time I see you online, you're taking a picture at hole number 13, and we've taken a picture together at hole 13. What's the significance of hole 13? Because you're way before Taylor Swift on Lycan 13. So
oh, yeah.
That's that
13
story.
is a great number. So how many LPGA founders are there?
There must be 13.
There are 13 founders. So it's our way of remembering the founders. And then we post to social, meet me at 13.
Okay.
But think about this, when you're playing your 18 holes, when you hit about 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of when you have to, okay, I need to get my second win. I need to persevere. Yeah. And so I always liken it to, it's my founder story. It's my girls are with me. We're together. We need to persevere. We need to push through.
Okay.
We need to be successful. We're going to build this. We're going to do this. We're going to come together. We're going to make it happen.
Right.
And we might not like each other, but we got to do this together. So it's that point in your round that I channel, our inner founders of being able to have some resilience.
That's really cool. I remember that tomorrow when I'm on 13th.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
So take a selfie.
Yeah, exactly. Good idea.
Yeah.
So we're winding down to our last couple of minutes.
Oh, golly. This has been
But
fast.
I wanted to make sure we had some time that you could talk a little bit about some of the events you got coming up. Because you got a couple of big events coming up in the next couple of weeks.
We have huge events coming up. So at Kierland Golf Club, thank you, Nancy Dickens and your team for everything that you're doing. We've got 4 days of events. Sunday, the 27th is a Sunday tea. It's a meet and it's a greet. And Jane Crafter is going to be interviewing our tournament honoree, Julie Inkster.
Mm-hmm.
And we're having a little bit of a Solheim theme. We'll actually have the Solheim Cup there. We'll have Ellen Solheim is coming.
Really?
And we'll have a couple of the other gals who will who have played. We were hoping Angela Stanford would be part of the panel because she's playing in the events, but she's, I guess, commentating at the Chevron, which finishes on Sunday. She's like, darn, I can't be there on time. Yeah. But she was just named captain for the Solheim for coming up. Oh, really? So we have that on Sunday. It includes a museum display and an expo and food and beverage and everything. So that's going on. We have the Scholarship Pro-Am on Monday, and that again is at Kierland. And on Tuesday and Wednesday, we have the Senior Open. It's the Marilyn Smith Arizona Women's Senior Open. It's a partners event, and we have 96 women coming. They come from all around the country. Last year, we had 27 states and Canada. They compete for $100,000.
Oh, nice.
And going back to the roots of the LPGA, everybody gets money. So even the last place team gets a little bit of something. Yeah. But Marilyn she hosted the very first senior event. She was always the first on everything. So this is kind of in honor of her having done the first senior event. There aren't enough events for these women to play as they age. So we're really excited about that.
That's fantastic.
Pat Bradley's playing. Hollis Stacy, we've got some more Hall of
names.
Famers.
These are huge names.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if people want to know more about how they can get involved or come out and see it, where can they turn?
golfitforward.org.
Everything
is at golfitforward.org. Okay. You can learn about the founders, the scholarship recipients, the events coming up, a little bit about what we're doing, and you can even donate money.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. We have an auction going on as well, which you'll see the link there. We're auctioning off the opportunity to play with Cheyenne Woods in your foursome. Cheyenne's playing in the Pro-Am.
Okay.
Really?
So,
that'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Would be fun,
for sure. Great conversation again. We need to do this again because we're just kind of getting started with Debbie, aren't we? Time runs out so fast, but
Debbie
once we hit the 30 minutes.
No, I don't. But golf is a lot of the people that I've had the pleasure of knowing is through Marilyn.
Yeah.
She opened a lot of doors, but look at how golf connects us.
Yeah.
It's relationships, it's connections, Of course, you know a lot of people with all that you've been doing that way. It makes sense, Yeah, it's fantastic.
We share our humanness, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah,
exactly. A lot in all of those in all equal doses, right?
Hey.
Or unequal doses, whatever it may be.
It's who we are.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Kevin, great guest.
Yeah, right.
I'm glad.
Well, thank you for including me. Thanks for having me. And hopefully when we have the next AWGAC event in a couple of weeks at DraftKings, you guys can come.
I would love to.
Great.
We're featuring the Epson Tour event that's coming up in May.
Let's do it.
Go to that.
Yeah.
So we need to put a bunch of things on our calendar with Debbie for sure. Fantastic. Debbie, thank you so much for all you're doing and what a wonderful story, what a wonderful career, all that you're doing in this community. So hats off to you.
Well, thanks for being part of the village.
Yeah,
we're a good village.
We're all in the village together. That's for sure. And thanks to all of you for listening. You can find us, as you know, at scottnow.com. Please share our podcast with your friends. Even if they don't golf, share it anyway. All right. And come back next week for another episode of Today and Tomorrow in Scottsdale.